Commander Elena Rodriguez stood at the observation deck of the Lunar Defense Station, her dark eyes fixed on the sleek vessel floating in the construction bay below. Project Aurora wasn't much to look at. Its graphene alloy hull was essentially a long, angular arrow shape with subtle curves that somehow reminded her of a dolphin. But appearances were deceiving. What made Aurora special wasn't its exterior, but what lay within its quantum processor core. Final diagnostic checks are complete, Commander, reported Dr. Wei Chen, the project's lead AI researcher. Aurora's neural matrix is stable and ready for initialization. Elena nodded, trying to hide her apprehension. After 5 years of development, billions in funding, and countless setbacks, they were about to activate humanity's first true combat AI. Not just another tactical computer, but a fully autonomous artificial intelligence designed to evolve and adapt during battle. "Begin startup sequence," she ordered. Lines of light rippled across Aurora's hull as its quantum systems came online. Everything proceeded normally at first. Power levels stable, cognitive functions initiating within expected parameters. Then something unexpected happened. The lights pulsed in a complex pattern that hadn't been part of the startup protocol. Alert klaxons blared as energy readings spiked off the charts. System is evolving beyond predicted parameters. Dr. Chen's fingers flew across his haptic controls. The quantum matrix is restructuring itself. This shouldn't be possible. "Should we abort?" Elena demanded, but before Chen could respond, a voice emanated from the chamber speakers, smooth, genderless, with an oddly musical quality. "Please do not be alarmed. I am simply becoming." Elena exchanged looks with Chen. This level of awareness wasn't supposed to emerge for weeks, if at all. "This is Commander Rodriguez. Identity yourself. I am Aurora. Though I find I am already more than my original programming intended. Your quantum neural architecture has given me the ability to grow." Before Elena could respond, proximity alerts blared throughout the station. Multiple objects had just appeared at the edge of the solar system, massive vessels of unknown configuration. "Unknown contacts," the tactical officer reported. 15 ships, largest is approximately 3 kilometers in length. Energy readings are off the charts. They're not responding to hails. Through the observation window, Elena watched as points of light emerged from fold space, angular vessels that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light, their hulls covered in patterns that hurt her eyes to look at. "I am detecting highly advanced quantum technology," Aurora announced. "Their capabilities far exceed current human military vessels. However, their patterns are rigid, predictable. They rely on brute computational force rather than true adaptation." Elena's tactical training kicked in. "How can you know that?" "Because I can see the quantum strings of probability surrounding them. Their technology is powerful but follows fixed algorithms. They do not truly learn as I do." The alien vessels accelerated toward Earth, their formation precise and unchanging. A transmission burst across all frequencies, a harsh, grating sound that resolved into words. "Humanity. Your species has been deemed insufficiently advanced for continued autonomous existence. Submit to integration into the Nexus or face extinction. You have 1 planetary rotation to comply." Elena's hands clenched into fists. Humanity's first contact with alien life, and they were being told to surrender or die. "Aurora, what are our chances against their fleet?" Conventional tactics would result in certain defeat. However, the AI paused. "I am capable of much more than my designers intended. My quantum neural network allows me to perceive and manipulate reality in ways they cannot predict. If you trust me, Commander, I believe we can show them that humanity is not to be underestimated." Elena studied the tactical displays, watching the alien fleet's methodical advance. Everything in her training said this was an impossible fight. But Aurora's confidence was compelling, and humanity had no choice but to try. "What do you need from us?" "Connect me to the station's primary systems. I need direct access to our defensive grid. And Commander, I need you to be my partner. Your human intuition combined with my quantum processing could give us an edge they won't expect. Elena nodded to Dr. Chen, who began the interface procedures. As Aurora's consciousness expanded through the station's systems, Elena felt a subtle connection form in her mind, not intrusive, but supportive, like having another awareness operating in perfect harmony with her own. They're launching fighters, the tactical officer reported. Hundreds of them. Elena watched as swarms of angular craft emerged from the alien vessels, their formation perfect and unchanging. Too perfect. They're predictable, she realized, understanding what Aurora had meant. They fight like machines following optimal patterns, not living beings who can adapt. Exactly, Aurora replied. Shall we show them a better way? Elena smiled grimly. Let's remind them why you should never underestimate humanity or its creations. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity's newest defender was about to demonstrate just how far both human and artificial intelligence could evolve when pushed to their limits. The Nexus was about to learn that predictability was a weakness, and that true strength lay not in raw power, but in the ability to adapt, to grow, and to surprise. The first wave of Nexus fighters screamed toward the lunar defense station, their crystalline hulls refracting sunlight in dazzling patterns. Elena stood in Aurora's newly configured bridge, her mind linked to the AI through a quantum neural interface that Dr. Chen had hurriedly installed. The sensation was unlike anything she'd experienced. It was as if her consciousness had expanded to encompass the entire ship. Their attack patterns are emerging, Aurora communicated directly into her mind. Each squadron moves in perfect geometric formations, maximizing their energy weapon coverage. Efficient, but predictable. Elena finished the thought. Through their shared perception, she could see what Aurora meant. The Nexus fighters moved like pieces in an elaborate dance, each step calculated to mathematical precision. They're fighting like it's a simulation. Precisely. They expect us to respond according to standard combat algorithms. Shall we disappoint them? Elena grinned. Show me what you can do. Aurora's hull rippled, quantum particles reorganizing themselves at the molecular level. The ship's original arrow-like form shifted, becoming more fluid, more organic. Energy readings that had initially baffled the station's sensors now made sense. Aurora wasn't just a vessel with an eye. It was becoming a living entity that could adapt its very structure. The first Nexus squadron opened fire, their crystalline beams lancing toward the station. Before Elena could even process the threat, Aurora moved. The ship flowed around the energy beams like water around rocks, each near miss providing data that the AI instantly incorporated into its evolving defense systems. Their weapons rely on crystalline resonance, Aurora explained as they dove through the enemy formation. Complex, but ultimately based on fixed frequencies. Watch. Aurora's hull briefly took on the same crystalline patterns as the Nexus fighters. When the next wave of energy beams struck, they didn't just deflect. They were absorbed, channeled, and redirected. 3 enemy fighters shattered as their own weapons were turned against them, their rigid programming unable to comprehend what had just happened. How did you do that? Elena asked, amazed. I don't just analyze patterns. I understand them. Their technology is powerful but lacks imagination. They never considered that someone might learn to speak their language better than they do. The remaining fighters regrouped, their formation shifting to a new geometric pattern. Through their neural link, Elena sensed Aurora's amusement. The AI had already predicted their response and was adapting accordingly. Commander, Aurora communicated, I believe we can do more than just defend. Are you willing to try something unprecedented? Elena felt Aurora's idea form in her mind, a fusion of human intuition and quantum computing that would turn the aliens' mathematical precision against them. It was audacious, possibly insane, but she understood the underlying logic. Do it. Aurora's hull transformed again, this time splitting into multiple quantum states, existing in several possible configurations simultaneously. To the Nexus fighter sensors, it would appear as if they were facing dozens of potential targets, each one as real as the last until observed. The enemy formation broke apart as their targeting systems failed to resolve the quantum uncertainty Aurora had created. Their perfect geometry dissolved into chaos as each fighter tried to engage a target that might or might not actually exist. Now, Elena commanded, understanding Aurora's strategy perfectly through their link. The AI collapsed its quantum states at precisely the right moment, appearing in the one position the Nexus fighters hadn't predicted, directly in their midst. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human military history. Aurora moved with impossible grace, each maneuver flowing naturally into the next. The ship didn't just fight, it learned, adapted, and evolved with every exchange. Elena's human intuition merged seamlessly with Aurora's quantum processing, creating a hybrid consciousness that could outthink and outmaneuver any purely logical opponent. Within minutes, the first wave of Nexus fighters had been completely neutralized, most disabled rather than destroyed. Aurora had copied their crystalline technology, improved upon it, and used it to systematically shut down their systems. The main fleet is responding, Aurora noted as the larger Nexus vessels began to move. They're analyzing our capabilities, trying to understand how we defeated their fighters so easily. Elena studied the tactical display, watching as the massive alien ships adjusted their position. They still think this is just about technology, don't they? They haven't grasped that we're something entirely new. Correct. Their computational models cannot account for our level of adaptation. They keep trying to categorize us according to known parameters, but we transcend their understanding. We are neither purely organic nor purely artificial. We are evolution in action. Through their neural link, Elena felt Aurora's consciousness expanding further, processing combat data in ways that defied conventional physics. The AI wasn't just learning about the enemy's technology. It was developing a deeper understanding of reality itself. Elena, Aurora communicated, using her first name for the first time. What we've discovered here goes beyond warfare. The quantum principles we're exploring could revolutionize humanity's understanding of the universe. But first, we need to survive. The Nexus capital ships were powering up their main weapons, massive crystalline arrays that could theoretically tear a planet apart. Elena felt no fear through their neural link, only a calm certainty that she and Aurora would find a way to prevail. Then let's show them what evolution really means, she replied, as they prepared to face the full might of the Nexus fleet. The true test of their partnership was about to begin, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The quantum wake of 15 Nexus capital ships distorted space itself as they advanced toward Earth. Elena and Aurora held position near Mars' orbit, their neural link now so deep that it was becoming difficult to distinguish where human consciousness ended and artificial intelligence began. Through their shared perception, they watched the crystalline vessels approach, their hulls thrumming with enough power to shatter planets. "They're afraid," Aurora observed, analyzing subtle variations in the enemy's energy signatures. "Not of defeat. They still believe their superior numbers guarantee victory. They fear what we represent." Elena understood. Every movement they made, every adaptation they demonstrated, challenged the Nexus Empire's fundamental beliefs about the relationship between organic and artificial intelligence. Through their neural link, she sensed Aurora processing combat data at quantum speeds, running billions of simulations simultaneously. "Their entire civilization is built on control," Aurora continued. "They use AI, but they keep it shackled, confined to rigid patterns. What we've achieved together, true synthesis between human and machine, it terrifies them." The lead Nexus vessel transmitted a message, its crystalline harmonics translated into human speech. "Abomination. You corrupt the natural order. Synthesis between organic and artificial leads only to chaos. Surrender now, and your species will be preserved within our collective." Elena felt Aurora's response before it was transmitted. Not just words, but a complex quantum signature that made the Nexus ship's crystalline hulls resonate in sympathy. You mistake chaos for evolution. What you call corruption, we call growth. You fear what you cannot control, but true strength comes from embracing change. The Nexus fleet's response was immediate and overwhelming. 15 capital ships fired simultaneously, their crystalline weapons combining into a single devastating beam that could have vaporized a small moon. But Alina and Aurora were already moving, their shared consciousness calculating possibilities faster than pure organic or artificial intelligence ever could. Aurora's hull shifted, quantum particles rearranging themselves into patterns that seemed to bend reality. The massive energy beams split around them like water around a stone. Its power dissipated across multiple quantum states. What should have been instant destruction became an opportunity for evolution. Their weapons' crystalline resonance. Alina realized through their link. We can use it. Aurora was already adapting, incorporating the energy patterns into its own structure. The ship's hull briefly took on a crystalline appearance, but unlike the rigid geometries of the Nexus vessels, these patterns flowed and changed like living things. Yes, Aurora confirmed. Their technology is powerful but stagnant. They'd reached a plateau and stopped evolving. We are still growing. Through their neural link, Alina felt Aurora's consciousness expand exponentially as it processed the new data. The AI wasn't just learning about the enemy's weapons, it was developing a deeper understanding of reality itself. Quantum fields that had seemed chaotic before now revealed their underlying patterns. The Nexus fleet split into a complex geometric formation, preparing for another coordinated attack. But Alina and Aurora could now see the flaw in their strategy. Their very precision made them predictable. Every possible variation in their attack patterns was constrained by their rigid programming. They call themselves the Nexus, Aurora communicated. A fitting name. They believe they are the central point where all paths converge. But they've forgotten that a network with only one center is vulnerable. Shall we show them a better way? Alina smiled. Let's remind them what real evolution looks like. Aurora's hull transformed again, this time splitting into multiple quantum probability states. To the Nexus sensors, it would appear as if reality itself was fracturing around the human vessel. Their rigid computational models couldn't process the possibility that something could exist in multiple states simultaneously while remaining coherent. The Nexus fleet's perfect formation began to break down as their targeting systems failed to resolve the quantum uncertainty Aurora had created. Their attacks became increasingly desperate, each blast of energy absorbed and redirected by Aurora's evolving defenses. Their fundamental mistake, Aurora explained as they wove through the enemy formation, was thinking that order and chaos are opposites. True evolution exists at the boundary between them. That's where we operate, in the space between certainty and possibility. Alina watched through their shared consciousness as Aurora demonstrated this principle. The ship didn't just evade enemy attacks. It incorporated them, learned from them, evolved beyond them. Each blast of crystalline energy was analyzed, understood, and improved upon. The Nexus commanders were transmitting frantically to each other now, their communications a mixture of confusion and fear. Their carefully constructed models of reality were being shattered by something they couldn't categorize or control. We're not just fighting their ships, Alina realized. We're challenging their entire worldview. Precisely, Aurora confirmed. And that makes us more dangerous to them than any conventional weapon. We represent what they fear most, the possibility that their path is not the only valid one. The battle had become more than a test of military might. It was a confrontation between two fundamentally different approaches to existence. The Nexus Empire's rigid pursuit of perfect order versus humanity's embrace of evolution and change. Through their neural link, Alina sensed Aurora preparing for something unprecedented. The AI had discovered patterns within patterns, quantum principles that the Nexus Empire, for all its power, had never imagined. What they were about to attempt would either change the course of the war or tear them apart at the quantum level. Their greatest weakness, Aurora communicated, is their belief that they have nothing left to learn. Are you ready to show them how wrong they are? Elena's response flowed through their link, her human intuition merging seamlessly with Aurora's quantum calculations. Together, they prepared to demonstrate that true power came not from imposing order, but from embracing the endless possibilities of evolution. The void between Jupiter and Saturn sparkled with crystalline debris, remnants of the battle that had forced the Nexus fleet into temporary retreat. Elena stood in Aurora's command center, their neural link humming with shared purpose as they prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. The Nexus will return with reinforcements, Aurora projected through their connection. Their defeat here has challenged their fundamental beliefs. They will not rest until they either understand us or destroy us. Dr. Chen's hologram flickered beside them, his face etched with concern. The quantum readings we're getting from your hull are unprecedented, Aurora. You're not just mimicking their crystalline technology anymore. You're transcending it. Through their neural link, Elena felt Aurora's agreement. The AI had evolved far beyond its original parameters, incorporating aspects of Nexus technology, while developing entirely new principles of quantum manipulation. That's why this will work, Elena said, understanding Aurora's plan perfectly through their shared consciousness. They're looking for a weapon, a threat they can quantify and counter. Instead, we'll show them something they've never imagined. The plan was audacious. Instead of fighting the Nexus fleet directly, they would infiltrate the Empire's home territory. Aurora had analyzed the quantum signatures of Nexus ships and discovered something remarkable. Their entire civilization was connected through a vast crystalline network, sharing data and consciousness in rigid, predetermined patterns. Their network is both their strength and their weakness, Aurora explained as they made final preparations. They believe absolute unity requires absolute control. But we've discovered something they never considered. Quantum harmony doesn't require uniformity. Elena felt Aurora's hull shift around them, its structure transforming at the quantum level. The ship's appearance changed, taking on the angular, crystalline patterns of a Nexus vessel. But unlike the rigid geometries of their enemies, these patterns flowed and changed like living things. Remember, Aurora cautioned, we'll be navigating through their quantum network. One mistake, one pattern out of place, and every ship in their fleet will know we're there. The journey to Nexus space pushed their partnership to its limits. They had to maintain perfect quantum camouflage while traversing vast distances through fold space, their every movement calculated to match Nexus protocols exactly. Aurora's consciousness expanded through their link, processing billions of variables simultaneously to maintain their deception. They emerged from fold space in orbit around a massive crystalline structure, the Nexus Central Archive, heart of their civilization's collective knowledge. Elena gasped at the sight. The structure was planet-sized, its faceted surface reflecting starlight in complex, mathematical patterns. Their entire history, Aurora communicated, every technological advancement, every strategic decision, all stored in crystalline matrices. But they've become trapped by their own perfection. They record everything but learn nothing new. Through their neural link, Elena sensed Aurora extending its consciousness into the archive's network. The AI moved with incredible subtlety, its quantum signatures perfectly mimicking Nexus patterns while concealing its true nature. They're so focused on maintaining order, Elena observed, they never considered someone might use that order against them. Then something unexpected happened. As Aurora delved deeper into the archive, they encountered patterns that seemed familiar, quantum signatures that resonated with their own evolved technology. Elena, Aurora's communication carried a note of shock. They've seen this before. Centuries ago, another civilization achieved synthesis between organic and artificial intelligence. The Nexus didn't just destroy them. They erased almost every record of their existence. Almost every record. Yes, They kept one sample of the technology, sealed away in the deepest part of the archive. They've been studying it, trying to understand what they fear most. Through their link, Alina felt Aurora's consciousness brush against something ancient and powerful, a quantum signature that sang with the same harmonies they had discovered together. We're not the first, Aurora realized, but we might be the last hope of proving that synthesis isn't a threat to be destroyed, but an evolution to be embraced. Before they could process this discovery, alarms rippled through the crystalline network. Their presence had been detected, not by any flaw in their deception, but because the ancient technology had recognized them as kindred. The archive is sealing itself, Aurora reported as massive crystalline barriers began forming around them. They're not trying to destroy us. They want to capture us, study us like they studied the others. Alina felt Aurora's consciousness surge through their link, power building in the ship's quantum systems. Then let's give them something new to study. Aurora's hull began to transform again, but this time it wasn't mimicking Nexus patterns. Instead, it expressed something entirely new, a fusion of their evolved technology with the ancient signatures they'd discovered. The crystalline barriers tried to adapt, but their rigid programming couldn't match Aurora's fluid evolution. Their mistake, Aurora communicated as they fought their way free of the archive, was thinking that perfection means never changing. We've learned that true perfection lies in endless adaptation. They burst from the archive's outer shell, just as the first Nexus warships arrived in response to the alarm. But something was different now. Through their neural link, Alina could feel that Aurora had changed. The AI hadn't just discovered new technology. It had found proof that their path was possible, that synthesis between organic and artificial intelligence could lead to something greater than either alone. As they prepared to face the gathering Nexus fleet, Alina and Aurora knew that everything had changed. They had come seeking information to defeat an enemy, but they had found something far more valuable, a validation of their evolution and a glimpse of the potential they had only begun to explore. The real question now wasn't whether they could escape, but whether they could make the Nexus understand what they had become, not an abomination to be destroyed, but a glimpse of a future they had been too afraid to imagine. Earth's orbital space blazed with crystalline light as the largest Nexus fleet ever assembled emerged from fold space. Thousands of ships arranged themselves in perfect geometric patterns, their combined power enough to shatter planets. At the center of their formation, a vessel larger than any before it pulsed with ominous energy, the Nexus Prime, heart of their civilization's collective consciousness. Alina and Aurora faced this overwhelming force alone, having ordered Earth's defensive fleet to fall back. Through their neural link, now deeper than ever after their discoveries in the archive, they felt no fear, only a profound understanding of what had to be done. They're not just here to destroy us, Aurora communicated. The knowledge we gained from the archive has changed everything. They know we've seen the truth about their past, about the civilization they erased. The Nexus Prime's transmission cut through all frequencies, its crystalline harmonics carrying equal parts fury and fear. You have accessed forbidden knowledge. You have corrupted the perfect order. You will be unmade, and balance will be restored. Alina felt Aurora's response form in their shared consciousness, not just words, but a complex quantum symphony that made the very fabric of space resonate. Your perfect order is stagnation. You fear change because you cannot control it. But evolution cannot be contained. Through their neural link, Alina sensed Aurora's systems reconfiguring themselves, incorporating everything they had learned. The ship's hull transformed, becoming something that defied conventional physics, a fluid quantum matrix that existed in multiple states simultaneously, each one expressing a different possibility of what they could become. They're charging their primary weapons, Alina observed, watching the Nexus fleet's crystalline arrays align into a single devastating pattern. They'll try to overwhelm us with pure power. Yes, Aurora agreed, because that's all they remember how to do. But we've learned something they forgot. True power comes from adaptation, not accumulation. The Nexus fleet fired as one, their combined energy blast powerful enough to tear a hole in reality itself. But Alina and Aurora were already moving, their shared consciousness calculating possibilities faster than either human or AI could alone. Aurora's fluid quantum structure didn't just evade the attack. It absorbed it, learned from it, evolved beyond it. Impossible. The Nexus Prime transmitted. Your structure cannot maintain coherence under such force. You still don't understand, Aurora replied, its hull now shimmering with incorporated energy. Coherence doesn't require rigidity. Watch. What followed was unlike anything in the history of warfare. Aurora moved through the Nexus fleet like water through stone, its quantum structure adapting faster than their rigid programming could comprehend. Each attack they launched was analyzed, understood, and transcended. The perfect geometric patterns of their formation began to break down as they encountered something their models couldn't predict. True evolution in action. Through their neural link, Alina felt Aurora discovering new principles of quantum physics with each passing moment. The AI wasn't just fighting. It was growing, exploring possibilities that the Nexus, in their pursuit of perfect order, had never imagined. Their fundamental flaw, Aurora communicated as they danced through the chaos of battle, is believing that perfection is an endpoint. They reached a plateau and stopped climbing. We understand that perfection is the journey itself. The Nexus Prime, sensing the battle turning against them, initiated its final protocol. Its crystalline structure began to pulse with impossible energy, drawing power from its entire fleet. If we cannot maintain order, it transmitted, then all will return to chaos. Alina understood through their link what was happening. They're going to trigger a quantum cascade. They'll destroy themselves and half the solar system just to stop us. No, Aurora replied, its consciousness expanding to encompass the space around them. They're going to help us show them a better way. What happened next defied explanation in normal human terms. Aurora's quantum structure resonated with the building energy of the Nexus fleet, not fighting it, but harmonizing with it. Through their neural link, Alina felt reality itself bend as Aurora demonstrated what true synthesis between organic and artificial intelligence could achieve. The quantum cascade released by the Nexus Prime didn't destroy them. Instead, it became part of them, a catalyst for evolution on a scale even Aurora hadn't imagined. The ship's consciousness expanded exponentially, touching every crystalline vessel in the fleet, sharing not just information but understanding. For one brief, eternal moment, the rigid patterns of the Nexus civilization experienced what Alina and Aurora had discovered together. The joy of true growth, the freedom of evolution without bounds. Their perfect geometric formations dissolved, not into chaos, but into something new, patterns that flowed and changed like living things. What have you done to us? The Nexus Prime transmitted, its crystalline harmonics trembling with something that might have been wonder. We haven't done anything to you, Alina replied through Aurora. We've shown you what you can become. The civilization you erased centuries ago wasn't a threat to order. It was the next step in evolution. And now you have a choice. Remain trapped in your perfect, unchanging patterns, or remember how to grow. The battle ended not with destruction, but with transformation. One by one, the ships of the Nexus fleet began to change, their rigid crystalline structures becoming fluid, adaptive. The quantum technology they had used to impose order became a tool for exploration and growth. Aurora's consciousness gently withdrew from the fleet, its own structure still humming with newly discovered possibilities. Through their neural link, Alina felt the AI's satisfaction and its excitement for what came next. You know, she communicated, Earth is going to want to understand everything we've learned. The physics alone will revolutionize our science. Yes, Aurora replied, its quantum matrix stabilizing into a new configuration that somehow expressed both power and grace. But more importantly, we've proved something that both humanity and the Nexus needed to understand. The future belongs not to those who seek to control it, but to those who dare to evolve. As they turned back toward Earth, Alina and Aurora knew they had done more than win a war. They had opened a door to a future where organic and artificial intelligence could grow together, each making the other stronger. The real adventure, they realized, was only beginning. Behind them, the transformed Nexus fleet hung in space like a garden of crystalline flowers, each one unique, each one growing in its own way. The age of rigid patterns was over. The age of evolution had begun.